the Dharma, incomparably profound and infinitely subtle, is rarely encountered, even in hundreds of thousands of millions of ages. Now we can see it, hear it, receive and maintain it. May we completely realize Tathagata's true meaning. Dear friends, dear Sangha, today is November 7th, 2020, and I'm speaking to you from Moonlit Crane Zendo. We are on Zoom having our Zoom Zazen Kai for November of 2020. For today's Teisho, I decided to do a bit of a foundational Teisho and talk a little bit about Mu and a few other things. We are still not quite sure if we will be able to do the sesshin, Rohatsu sesshin. We are seeing if we can get enough people. So just in case that if we can't, I would like to do a very brief Teisho on Mu and a few other little things. So kind of a very basic Teisho, something that we all need to cultivate and practice. In Buddha Dharma, it is said that the mind is the king. And what this means is that everything starts and ends with the mind. And the mind is a universe into itself. And what kind of mysteries one can discover there is not for me to say. It is for you to discover those mysteries on your own. But what we do in Zen and in Buddhism is provide the tools to discover those mysteries. It is not for me to tell you this is a fact and this is a lie, but rather the Buddha Dharma gives us the tools to look into the mind and to discover those things for yourself. In this sense, the Koan on does a dog have Buddha nature and Mu is one of those tools. It's a foundational tool. In Sambo Zen, it is a basic practice. What I mean by that is that it is not, sometimes we see this koan as a beginner's koan or something to get through or something to realize in order to move on to another koan. But this is very short-sighted way of looking at it. I would say this koan is more like the ground of the path that we are walking on, whether it's in the beginning, in the middle, or at the end. So this is what I mean by saying that it's a foundational tool. It's a very basic tool of our practice. And it is a kind of interesting idea that one koan contains all the other koans. Or maybe we can say that each koan contains all the other koans. So this is something that we can see and appreciate about our practice. But there is another way of looking at it. Because a question one might ask, well, why then do I have to work through 500 or 1700 koans? And what is interesting is that there is also a sense of trajectory or a sense of progression, or a sense of direction. And this is also true. It is not that the koans get more difficult or that the subject matter of the koans have a certain direction or trajectory. It is that the path that we are walking on has a certain impulse, a certain energy behind it. And so how do you reconcile those two ideas? One, that is a single koan contains the whole of the path. And then the other idea that there is a kind of trajectory, and by following along, kind of stepping stone or a pebble by pebble, we are following along the path. It's a very simple thing. It's that if we take one koan as the beginning, the middle, and the end of the whole path, it is very difficult for us to do that. It's very difficult for us to be so thoroughgoing, so completely committed, to go so deeply into a single koan. It is easier for us to have this, you can call it a carrot and stick approach, a bit by bit. And thus, by passing through 1700 koans, we arrive back at Mu, you could say, or we are doing nothing other than practicing Mu. So this is, I'm trying to give you some sense of what I mean when I say that it is our foundational practice, it is our basic practice. And what is this trajectory? Remember how I said that the mind is the universe into itself, and that whatever mysteries you discover there, it's not for me to tell you what they are. This trajectory is a trajectory of certain kind of spaciousness. A spaciousness that you find in awareness itself. It's a spaciousness that is found in awareness. And when you discover this, or when you develop taste for it, then all these facts, the things we call hard facts, simply crumble. And they're not that interesting anymore. We have developed taste for the path. And the thing that we appreciate the most is the spaciousness that is found within the mind, with a simple awareness. And this is this trajectory, going from holding on to things that we feel are somehow advantageous to us in some way. So this is one point I want to make. To never lose sight of that. To always go toward more letting go of all our preconceived notions, and even to letting go of all of our realizations. And then there's another idea, and that it goes back to the very title of the work, the Mumon's collection, The Gateless Gate. And it is this idea of a gate. And this koan Mu, or actually all the koans in the collection, are a gate. It's a gateless gate, but it is a gate, meaning it is something we enter through. It is a gateless gate. Again, you see this idea of spaciousness popping up. You can feel this, a sense. If we say it's a hard barrier, this doesn't feel very spacious, but it's a gateless gate. So you have this idea of entering into something through a wide open space. So this is the idea of a gate, and how is Mu a gate? And this idea of Mu being a gate is very clear if you look at Mumon's commentary on the Koan. Meaning, we need a place where we can start, or we need a place of entry. We need an introduction, if you will. So here then we are suddenly talking about what kind of things we are experiencing as we are practicing Mu. We are talking about your own subjective experience, but we are also talking about our collective objective experience of Mu. And here one can begin to talk about non-duality and things like that. Going beyond our ordinary everyday perceptions of a person and the world, me versus you, and so on. So this is one way we can talk about Mu as a presentation of non-duality. And then we can go back to the question. The monk is asking this question: does a dog have Buddha nature? So we are talking about Buddha nature now. And we can see this koan as a gate or an introduction, encounter, a hug, if you will, between us and Buddha nature. And what is really Buddha nature? Do we have confidence to embrace something like that? Do we have confidence to embrace ourselves as Buddha nature? So these are all the things that are woven into working with this koan. This trajectory of always moving toward more spaciousness, this encounter with non-duality, and this embracing of our true nature. And this is our foundational practice. There is a verse that I wanted to share with you today. Is actually what I intended to talk about mainly, in addition to this koan, and it's a verse of Dogen Zenji's. This is something he wrote in a portrait. It said here, there's a few different verses that he wrote. It's called Dogen's Verses of Praise on Portraits of Himself. So I imagine there was a portrait of him painted and he wrote this verse on the edge of it. So I will read this to you now. Not abandoning his sitting cushion until the year of the donkey. When asked about the way, he merely raises a fist. Ultimately, how can he be comprehended? With body and mind lazy, he doesn't practice Zen. So you can imagine he wrote this as a commentary on himself and his own practice, and as a commentary on how he sees himself. Not abandoning his sitting cushion until the year of the donkey. So this is a common theme in Zen. There is no year of the donkey. In the Chinese zodiac, this year never comes. You can wait for the year of the donkey. It's never going to come. So there are two themes in response to this verse. The first is to practice until the year of the donkey is considered something quite useless and futile, because this year never comes. But it also gives us a spirit of our practice. We are not really looking to come to a certain point. That it gives us a spirit of our commitment to Zen practice. We don't mind sitting until the year of the donkey. So this is he's turned this, something that's viewed as futile and pointless, into a beautiful expression of the spirit of Zen practice. So when we sit with Mu, we have to have this delusion, if you will, or this beautiful spirit of practice, that we will sit until the year of the donkey. If we have that kind of courage or commitment, then it's not difficult. Our practice is really not difficult. So this is it's very important. If you think back, going back to those three themes I mentioned in regards to Mu, as always moving toward more spaciousness, as a kind of encounter with non-duality, which is not concerned about this or that. It's not concerned about any specific point in time. And also, as I mentioned, it is a description of Buddha nature. So this idea of sitting until the year of the donkey, it really inherits, or it has in its very nature, this flavor of those things. So not abandoning his sitting cushion until the year of the donkey. When asked about the way, he merely raises a fist. So if you ask him a question, he's sitting, 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 sitting. And if you ask him, well, why are you sitting? Or what is the point of your sitting? He won't say anything. He will merely shake his fist at you. This doesn't need a commentary. This shaking of the fist is the only thing you're going to get. So I'm going to refrain from speaking about that. Ultimately, how can he be comprehended? So this is a question now for us. It is a question for when you are sitting on your cushion, this person who is sitting on the cushion meditating. Today we are sitting in a zazenkai. This person who is sitting on the cushion, how do you understand? In what possible way can you comprehend this person who is practicing today? This is what he's talking about. No answer is given. No answer will ever be given. It's a very beautiful way to sit with that kind of open hand. Sitting until the year of the donkey. You are sitting today. How do you understand yourself? And finally, With body and mind lazy, he doesn't practice Zen. Just so that we don't become confused. This last line is kind of almost, it's a warning to us. He's sitting all the time. He was known for very, very strict practice. And he was younger, he never slept. So here he says, with body and mind lazy, he doesn't practice Zen. This is a warning to us. What it means is this carrot and stick approach, whatever you get from that, it is meaningless. In what sense do I say that this is a warning? Well, the warning is if you listen to this, sitting until the year of the donkey, it seems like a very, very hard practice. All of these things, we have to comprehend this person. We have to understand. We have to practice Zen. We are practicing Zen. Sitting, sitting, sitting. But he says, I'm so lazy and I never practice Zen. Remember those three themes which I introduced. Always moving toward more spaciousness. Encountering non-duality again and again and again. Letting go of all those petty, small-minded things that we like to put in our pockets. All the pebbles. As we walk along the path, we are collecting little pebbles of wisdom and putting them in our pockets. And the longer we practice, more burdened we become. This is not the trajectory that I spoke about at the beginning. It is not for me to give you pebble of wisdom. It is for us is to have the tools so that we can discover on our own, on your own mind and the mysteries that dwell there. So this, with body and mind lazy, he doesn't practice Zen. As we are sitting today in Zazenkai, sitting still, sitting until the year of the donkey, we are being very, very lazy. And we will do everything today except practice Zen. This is the kind of spirit. We are not really getting intoxicated. We're not really getting high. We are not getting off of the fact that we are doing Zazenkai today. And this is something that should burden us. This is, in that sense, it's a warning. Don't get burdened by this idea that I'm doing some very difficult Zen practice or something like that. Ultimately, you should have your own feel for this person who is sitting, practicing move, let's say. In the same way that you should have your own feel for the words of Dogen Zenji. So I'm going to stop here and I will recite the 4 great vows now. You can join me in your homes.